episode 5. We're dressed the same as last week because we just started a new thing, but we're keeping our episodes around 50 minutes or so.
Yeah.
And so last place we left off, Heidi was talking about the Black church experience and the difficulty about the be able to challenge and have critical thinking. Today we're going to start off talking about navigating relationships.
Yeah.
And the challenges of navigating the relationships with family and friends who don't accept or understand your deconstruction process.
Yeah.
So you want me to start on that, or you want to start?
You can start this time because I started last time.
Okay, because this is fresh on my mind right now. I will say that it has been relationships have been extremely challenging. People who I love dearly, it feels like they don't even see me anymore. That they see me as some lost reprobate, as opposed to Justin, your cousin, your nephew, your brother, your son.
Yeah.
Right? The same motherfucker you grew up with. And it hurts. But I also recognize that when you grow, you will outgrow people.
Oh, absolutely.
And we are not all supposed to be walking on the same path. One of the things I came to understand was that so there's 5 of us. It's me, my brother Jeremy, my sister Heather, my sister Holly, and my sister Heidi. There's 5 of us. We have the same mother and father, same biological mother and father. And although we have the same mother and father biologically, experientially, we have completely different parents.
Yep.
As the firstborn, you have no idea of what mom is like without any other kids around.
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah.
By the time you were born, daddy was pretty much out of here.
Yeah.
So we have, although we have the same parents,
yeah,
we have completely different experiences. Yeah. And one isn't valid over the other. They're both valid.
Absolutely.
They're just different. And the thought came to me, if we don't experience our own mother and father the same,
yes,
how in the fuck are we going to experience God in a uniform way?
Bars. I mean,
how?
Yeah.
Like, that don't even make any sense.
It doesn't.
So, if there is diversity in thought, in feelings, and opinions, that's good.
Yeah.
Because we ain't all the same. You know, I think the thing that Christianity is very threatened by is like the individual. I think I heard you say it, or no, it was Misty that said it, that the church, instead of teaching us to think critically, the church teaches us to think critically of ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we are critical thinkers when it comes to
it goes
us.
Inwards.
Yeah.
It goes inwards.
And so
that's so true.
But anybody who was threatened by difference is a very fragile and a weak person.
Ooh.
They're very fragile and weak. And so that was the thing that kind of gives me, you know, I say it's okay, because if I'm with the same people, having the same conversations, believing the same things, coming to the same conclusions, I'm not growing.
Yeah.
And things that don't grow are dead.
Yep.
So, and so I love the fact that I'm on this road. Um, and uh, and one of the things I know or I feel about God is God can handle all of our beliefs.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Can handle all of them.
All of our beliefs.
Even if they're the complete opposite of one another.
Yep.
So whenever you began to deconstruct and you were relating to a family member, was there any traumatic experience, family or friend, that really, really harmed you? Like the loss of a relationship that really, really harmed you, or the changing of the dynamic of a relationship that harmed you?
I will not share names, but I have a family member who I deeply love, who has been a major support in my life when things felt hopeless. This relative was and is an amazing source of encouragement and love and support. But since I've been deconstructing, it feels like our relationship has changed. Now, and I don't want to completely blame her. I said. But anyway, I don't want to completely blame them. Because I have changed.
Yeah.
I'm not the same person.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very disorienting to people when they experience you one way for 40 years and now 43, you're different. We have this with some of our cousins. We have a cousin. We love you, Jacqueline. But we grew up knowing her as Jackie, right? But she made the decision that she didn't want to be called Jackie anymore. She wanted to be referred to as Jacqueline. And not a big request.
Yeah.
But it was met with so much resistance.
Yeah.
Just the actual pronunciation of her real name.
Her birth name, yeah.
Right? So
people were like, how dare you?
Yeah. So it's normal to be disoriented whenever a person who you experience one way and now they are operating in a completely different way.
And by the way, Jacqueline is not the her, just in case anybody was confused.
Oh, you know, not playing.
No. I knew it wasn't
her. And so instead of like a family member, I now feel like a project, like a sinner that soul need to be redeemed from hell.
You're lost.
I'm lost. And there was an experience where I was having a conversation with this relative, and my wife happened to be present. We were in a vehicle together, and we were having, I thought it was an amazing conversation. I was being really honest, transparent, vulnerable. And when we all went our separate ways, Misty told me that this person was, the whole time I was saying the things that I was saying, was speaking in tongues under their voice. Ooh. And I was just like, yo, that it hurt. And
that's just so disrespectful.
Same thing happened with, I'll just say my father-in-law. We were out, we went down there for Christmas, to Phoenix for Christmas, and I was having amazing, I thought it was a very open, vulnerable conversation. And we talked for hours. And then the next day, my cousin, who actually lives in Phoenix, came in town and had Christmas dinner with us. My cousin Phil, who made the music for our podcast.
Thank you, Phil.
And Phil came in, and then me and Phil had a great conversation. Like, it was like even better than the one I had with Bob. And Phil was like, he wasn't poo-pooing it. There was curiosity. I was curious about what he was saying. Mm-hmm. And so after this very passionate, great conversation that we had, came back in, and my father-in-law said to Philip Did you show him the error of his ways yet? Have you redeemed him yet? Because my cousin is a openly expressing Christian who plays worship pastor, right? And so my father-in-law, I'm assuming, had this perspective of like, you're on the right track, my son-in-law's on the wrong track.
Yeah,
he needs to be fixed. And so I don't want to be fragile. Like, as much as I say, it hurts, but life is painful. Growth is painful. Growth will move you away from people.
Yeah.
If you are a 54-year-old living in your mother's basement, wearing your PJs while she makes you tater tots and sloppy joes, there's something wrong.
Yeah.
You have not grown.
Yeah.
You have stunted your growth.
Yeah. She has stunted your growth too.
And so the sign of health is being able to grow up and being able to form your own life,
chart new territories
away from that's normal.
Yeah.
That is normal human development.
Yeah.
And so I just kind of come to accept it as being, it comes with growth.
Yeah.
If you want to grow and you have to heal and you want to heal, it's not a matter of if, your relationships will change.
Yep. Absolutely.
No doubt about it.
Absolutely. As far as like for me, I didn't really get a lot of pushback. I got some pushback, but I'm the type of person that will I just won't answer the phone for you. So I mean,
that's my ministry.
You
too.
you could challenge me all you want to. You could pray. I will not answer the phone.
We have the anointing of screening calls. I feel like that is anointing on us.
It was. Now I think that's from God. Caller ID. I think that was a gift from God.
Yes.
Yes.
That was manna.
Manna from heaven. So for me, I just really try to avoid those conversations because I just know that you can't argue with certain people, and there are certain people that I have a very strong gift of discernment, and so I know what to say around certain people, and I know what not to say. And I'm not one of those people who has this itch to prove somebody. You know how some people will learn something new and then try to shove that shit down people's throat. Not me. I do not care. Y'all go in with your beliefs and I'll go on with mine. But it's when people try to challenge me, like, why you tell everybody what you think, what you learned today? And I'll be like,
who the hell you don't talk like that?
I know some people. I'm being exaggerating. I'm exaggerating, but I know some people who will like try to put me on the spot to laugh at my beliefs and laugh at ancestral veneration, laugh at the fact that I commune with spirits. Sorry, I commune with spirits. So I have people like that, but like I said, like the block button is one of my best friends. And as far as mom, she tries to come in at angles, but we all know that mom is somebody who is we're blessed to have mom, because she is somebody that is willing to learn, and she's going to love you wherever you are. So we were blessed to have that. I know some people aren't. Some people are excommunicated from their families and all like that. But for me, it ain't nothing to cut somebody off. I'm not cut somebody off completely, but because I will always keep that line of communication open with them. But it's nothing to shut down a conversation for me, because I don't have to prove anything to you. I already know where you stand. You know what I'm saying? But one thing I did have to do was I had to draw a couple of boundaries with people who because I am a recovering fear addict, and that was literally given to me, gift wrapped from the church. Here's fear. Here's fear. Have fun. Have fun. Play with it for the rest of your
It
life.
was like, it's the gift that keeps on giving.
It's the gift that keeps on giving. So I am I am a recovering fear addict. But some people will try to place that anxiety on me, and that is where I have to draw the line. Yeah. I draw the line there, because what you're not going to do is place your fear on me. What you're not going to do is place your anxiety on me. Your oh, Heidi, you must have no, I will shut that down, and I won't ever answer the phone for you. No, those are people I will not answer the phone for. Yeah. So sorry, not sorry. I won't deal with it.
Yeah, it is. I think. God, that's what I was going to say. Self-care is a term. It's a buzzword. We didn't talk about that shit in the 80s or the 90s, but you hear the word self-care being thrown around everywhere. Yeah. Right. And when you think about self-care, you think about vacations, rest, massage, pedicure, right? And not saying that those aren't self-care, because they are. But self-care can also be not answering that phone. Yeah. Turning your phone off.
100%.
And protecting your peace, instead of going back and forth with a person that isn't willing to see you. Yeah. And one of the things I want to also give advice about how to approach these conversations. If you do have the conversations with, if you're deconstructing, you're having a conversation with a relative that doesn't understand or accept your deconstructive experience, when you communicate with them, don't have your object be to win.
Yeah. Ooh, that's big. That's huge.
Like if you're not trying to win. Yeah. Because that's what they're trying to do.
Oh, 100%.
They're trying to win. They're trying to shut beat you. They're trying to have dominion, right? And so, and it's just kind of, if you want to win, fine. Yep. And one of the things I say is, good for you. Yeah. I'm glad you believe that. It doesn't work for me. Yeah. I'm not trying to win. I can hear what you're saying, but it doesn't work for me. Yeah. And that's okay. Yeah. Whether you accept it or not, it doesn't work for me. Yeah. And because I don't think we should shit on, I don't think Christians should shit on people who are deconstructing. I think people who are deconstructing shouldn't shit on their Christians, because motherfucker, you were that 5 years ago.
Yeah, and not only that, you're doing it. Yeah, you're doing the exact same thing that they're doing. The spiritual and moral supremacy of it all. Mm-hmm. And but the thing about it is, you see that in spiritual communities, deconstructing communities. Mm-hmm. It's like the human mind cannot stop with this pecking order, this hierarchy type thinking of this supremacy. It's like my beliefs are more superior than yours. What I do is more superior than you. And you see that in different sects. You see that in you'll see that in some ATRs. You'll see that in new age spiritual groups, amongst yogis and amongst different people. But you must you're being just like that person. You're being just like the institution that you escaped from. Mm-hmm. Or the institution that you left. I don't want to use escape, because some people actually just left. Mm-hmm. Nobody's ever tied there. Mm-hmm. It's your choice to leave. Yeah.
But, there's that, I'm paraphrasing a quote by James Baldwin. Like, we can argue, we could disagree, we can have these discussions, but there's one caveat. It cannot take away my human dignity. Yeah. Yeah. And my autonomy, my power. Yeah. Right. Once we get into that, right, we're talking about something else. And you don't have to engage with people who are, and I will say this as a former proselytizer. I remember after watching The Matrix, I was so geeked by that movie. Seriously, Matrix. When I first saw the movie, I was a deep Christian back then. I was in Bible school, and I was so excited. I held the bus captive and I preached the gospel directly on the bus.
What?
Yeah. And so I've been there. I've done that. And um and but people are free to believe me or not. And my road of deconstruction, I want to say something this, because my road of deconstruction is not Heidi's road. We are not experiencing the same thing.
Nope.
Heidi's has a completely different set of experiences than I do.
Yep.
I have a completely different set of experiences than she has. Everybody's deconstruction journey is going to look different. There is no uniform deconstruction. And so anywhere you do see uniform, you know something's off.
It's forming another subset, subset of a religion.
Exactly.
Anytime you see a uniform deconstruction, like people going in that same direction,
they saying the same thing.
You are watching a moment in history of a religion forming, of a new religion, a new way of thinking forming. So I wanted to ask you about that time that you were on the bus. I didn't know anything about that. What was the motivation? What was your emotion that drove you to stand up on that bus? What was the primary emotion?
It was like the Matrix, watching that movie opened up a kind of new paradigm. I remember it was specifically the part whenever Neo went to the Oracle's apartment, and he's there trying to find out if he's the one, if he's Neo, right? And so while he's waiting, there's all these kids in there, and he's talking with, I think he's like an Indian kid or something like that, and he's like kind of using his mind to
bend the
spoon. And Neo asked him, "How are you doing that?" He said, "It's very simple. Once you come to understand, there is no spoon." And something about that, it woke me up. And I will say that the message that I preached was not gospel-y.
Okay.
It was more just like, allow yourself to free your mind, like freeing your minds, right? And so and right now, as a person who I feel like I've preached about I feel like I've preached the gospel my whole life. And even though I'm a non-Christian, I describe myself as a mystic. And a mystic is just a person who is seeing through a dark glass, who's trying to navigate something that can't be navigated, trying to understand the divine, right? And so and I don't it's not my desire to push that off on anybody. And I found something that is working for me, and you have to find something that works for you. And I think maybe we can go into another point, because, and this isn't in the script, but this is like free balling, right?
Okay.
There's a scripture that pretty much all Christians come to know, that kind of refers to our hearts being desperately wicked.
Yes.
And that
Goodness gracious,
who can understand our wicked hearts?
Deceitful and desperately wicked.
Yeah. And so I think the barrier first has to come within you, for you to be able to not see yourself as evil. There was this there was a saying in whenever
and unworthy.
And unworthy, right?
Yeah.
I just want, I'll try to make this as short as possible. Um, there, so that this belief that human beings are in need of a savior because they are wretched, they are dirty with sin, right? They
Yes.
are garbage, right?
Yeah.
Um, that wasn't the only belief it was held. And there was a guy named Pelagius, and I think the other guys, I think it was Augustine, and they had a debate. Augustine believed that human beings were desperately wicked, who needed a sinner. There's no good within us. Pelagius said, when God created mankind, God said it is good.
Mm-hmm.
And nothing changes that.
Yeah.
It wasn't like in like Exodus, God was like, psych.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and his way of looking at it is sin doesn't make us dirty. Sin distorts our view of ourselves. We can't see ourselves clearly because of sin, right? And that's a whole another topic of sin. But the belief that most of us have is the result of a vote.
Wow.
If Pelagius would have had more votes, we'd be all thinking like Pelagius.
But that's not how it went. That's not how it went.
Nope.
Let me ask you this. We could start talking about. I really want to talk really quick on the adversary, the devil, because the devil has had us in a chokehold for a very long time. If any time it was a child that was just being a regular child going through the growing pains, the devil had a hold of him, baby. Oh, pray for sister so and so's child. The devil got a strong hold on that baby girl. Or somebody who has spiritual gifts, who has the gift of sight, who's a medium and can see spirits and could commune with spirits. Pray for so and so. That person is mad. That person got the devil in them. They got demons. They see demons. And so I know our family in particular. Our family, I truly believe, we have a family of seers. But we were raised in a church that we were raised in a way that our gifts were demonized. So, and we weren't able to cleanse properly and understand them properly. And so I think that a lot of people were driven mad because they were open channels and they did not have the proper instructions, the proper teachings. We were so far removed from any in Africa, they have babalawos, they have shamans in different places that will help you and train you to use the gift that God has given you. But we haven't had that. We were left high and dry. And so we were considered mentally ill. We were considered mad. We were considered that the devil had us, even just like different, like you said, like I said, growing pains of life. It is the devil. Can we talk about the devil as an adversary? What do you, I mean, as far as it's preached and what it to be now? What the adversary, the devil, whatever. I know a lot of people translate it as the accuser. The devil is being the accuser. So what do you think? I want to get your take on that.
So my understanding of scripture is Satan had limitations, right? He could mess with us, but he couldn't do nothing with God because God kicked him out, right? And so I look at Satan in the same way. You can't mess with me.
Yeah.
I am God.
Yeah.
Like it's like he can't get me.
Yeah.
And when I say I am God, I don't mean that I am all encompassing God, but God is this it's undescribable how much magnitude there is to God. I'm God, you're God, You're God.
Yeah.
Um, and and so until we come to recognize that, I think we are susceptible to these uh the things about like being impacted by Satan. Um and and really what I how I look at Satan, um, in a psychological sense, it's the ego.
I was just about to say that. So let me really quick touch on that, because as you were talking, I was thinking about what you're saying. So I don't know if you did, if I for a while I did a lot of ancient Kemetic, um, ancient Egypt, but it really was called Kemet. So one of so how they related it was Set um was the ego. And so the ego was like, he's always pictured in like this boat that's swimming, I mean that's rowing the boat against the current.
Mm-hmm.
And so the ego pretty much goes against your God self, right? Because it's trying to separate and individualize itself and stand apart. But if you look at like a lot of the Bible and the way they teach the devil, it's the same thing. It's just like that setting apart, being more important than the collective, being more, and so it makes so much sense how they tie together. And if you look at different ways, different pantheons, different belief systems, a lot of times the way that they make their Satan, or make the adversary, or make a deity that is like kind of casted off, it's always because of something that they wanted to do to set themselves apart, to set themselves higher than everybody else, than the collective. And that's exactly what ego does. Somebody had made an analogy that the ocean is God. We are all part of God. So if you collect a cup, we're all cups of like, we're all different cups, right? And so if your cup, what's inside of us is the same thing. It's part of the ocean, right? But it's when somebody says, but my cup is red, and my cup is bigger, and my cup is, my cup is more precious, and it's just like, no, but what's inside is made of the same substance as the ocean, as everything else. But ego is pointing out, this is the different thing. Yeah.
I describe psychotherapy as helping people become human. And the more we get in touch with our humanity, the more we understand our divinity.
Yeah.
And I didn't fully understand my humility, or even accept my humility. But to become human is to be closer in connection with the divine. And here goes why I say that. In Genesis, there's this kind of theme about creation. God, planted seeds, right? And the seedling, and they bear fruit after their kind, right? And there's this theme of God put here, and then the things that developed were like in kind, right?
Yeah.
Hippopotamuses, birds, right?
Yeah.
Like a bird is not going to give birth to a puppy, right? It's going to give birth to another bird, or have an egg, and the egg hatches and birds comes out. So who put us here? Who breathed life into us? According to the Bible, it was God.
Yeah.
God said, I have made it both man and woman in my image, in my likeness.
Yeah.
We are walking around with the breath of God in us. Breath is another word for spirit.
Yeah.
And so, and because I can understand the resistance of somebody saying I'm God. And if you don't feel comfortable saying that, again, you don't have to believe the way I believe. You find what works for you. But what worked for me, because I had a horrible image of God growing up. It was the thing that held me back so much up until I start recognizing me.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's the divinity.
Yeah.
Is whenever I can be the most Justin I can be.
Yeah.
The more Justin I can become, the more my divinity expands. And so you could take that or leave it. But like I don't even get worked up about Satan no more.
But what you said was so profound, and it just hit me, because you said the more Justin you find, the more God you find, right? So it's so crazy because one of the main reasons why I'm here in Seattle is to find Heidi, because outside of who I didn't know. I became a mother at 18. I didn't know who I was outside of what I was for other people. And so that's why so many people have such a hard time finding God, because a lot of the virtues that the Bible teaches is less of me and more of you. It minimizes yourself. It minimizes who you are, and it shrinks yourself to a servant unto everybody but yourself, and then you lose who you are. How could you possibly be in touch with your divinity and you don't even know who you are? You don't even know who you are, so you have to cling to what somebody else says God is.
Yeah.
Because you truly do not know who you are aside from what somebody else says God is. And I'm gonna tell you this: it was not until literally last week I had my first intimate encounter with God. Other than that, I truly was playing off and riding on the waves of somebody else's experience. And it wasn't until I met Heidi. It wasn't until I met me and who I am, and was able to really fully understand. And what makes me, it doesn't make me upset, because it happened when it needed to happen. But the experience that I had, it was so much so that I understood fully that whatever I experienced, that divinity, that supernatural feeling that I experienced, I knew that it was always in me the entire time. Because that experience did not come from without. That thing came from the depths of inside of me. And it's so unfortunate that I spent over 30 years in the church and never experienced that. I was caught up in those virtues. I was caught up in the selflessness.
But that was by design.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I was caught up in that selflessness. I was caught in that, and being that Psalms 31 woman. I was caught up in my acts of service, in which those are great things, because that is another way that you can experience God through other people. But I feel like you can't even get to that point where you could experience God through other people until you really understand who God is within yourself. And then you could play that off of other people and breathe life into other people, and they could breathe life into you. But until you get that perspective, until you separate yourself and really have that personal, intimate experience, I can't believe I went my whole life without it. I mean, I was in the car crying tears, and it was so crazy because it was in me the entire time.
She likes banging on the table.
Sorry, I pantomime while I talk.
You bang on again, I'll pop your knuckles.
I'm sorry.
It, to me, when I look at the Bible now, it's so clear. It's like doy.
Right?
Right. One of the things that got Jesus killed was he said, me and the Father are one. It's like, this man thinks he's God. Right. And but in understanding this about Jesus, right, and this is my perspective, Jesus came us to show us how to be how to connect with that divine, right? Whenever you look in a mirror, you see Heidi. Whenever I look in the mirror, I see Justin. Anything in both are the same thing.
Yeah.
We are a reflection or the image of God.
Yeah.
There's a term called Imago Dei, and there's this book. It's a really deep book. It was a required reading in graduate school called I and Thou, and talks about all these different kinds of relationships. Right, most of us relate to each other on a very transactional way. We relate to God transactionally, right? God, I pray and give my tithes. You bless my family, right? It's this transaction. It's this exchange, right? That's not a real relationship.
Yeah.
A real relationship is whenever you can be with another person and see something in them that maybe they don't see in themselves.
Yeah.
And they see something in you that you can't see in yourself.
Yeah.
So I started my practice a little over a year ago, and it's going great.
Yeah.
And I couldn't make sense of it. Why people were paying me money every week for weeks and months and years to hear what I have to say.
Yeah.
To hear my perspective. That didn't compute.
Paying a grip too.
Because it was how I see myself. And I want to say that our perspectives of ourselves are oftentimes the least accurate.
Oh, yeah.
These people were obviously experiencing a different person than I realized that they were.
Yeah.
They weren't experiencing an imposter.
Yeah.
They are experiencing somebody with great wisdom and knowledge and insight and compassion and kindness. And even though I can't see it in myself, they see it in me, right? And vice versa, right? I'm able to see stuff in them that they can't see in themselves.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I tell my clients all the time, like, you have no idea who I'm experiencing. Everybody who you think is thinking about you in a certain way, you're only thinking about that through your perspective.
Yeah.
They cannot see you the way you see yourself. I have no idea on how Heidi sees herself, but I know how I see Heidi, and Heidi cannot understand fully my experience of you.
Yeah.
Because it's through my eyes.
Yeah.
Right. And so I got off on a tangent there. I kind of lost my point.
Little mix of ADHD in this session.
Yeah. It'll come back to me. I ain't worried about it. And so, I was saying, like, our opinions. If we were a judge on a case, we would have to recuse ourselves. We are so biased against ourselves.
Yeah.
We never give ourselves any credit for the good. We magnify the horrible shit, like how the media treats black men.
Yeah.
That's how we treat ourselves.
Yeah. No, seriously.
Like, Thug Heidi today
Yeah.
yelled at one of her children. And so we're horrible judges of ourselves.
Other than Leos. Leos are very. No, I'm joking.
And there's a portion of scripture where Jesus is the woman who's caught in adultery. And the symbolism in this story is amazing. They pull the woman out and bring him to Jesus. They're going to test Jesus. Hey, this woman was caught in the act of adultery. Yo, what you finna do then? And number one, it was slanted because they didn't bring the guy. She wasn't humping herself.
Yeah, right.
They didn't make dildos back then, did they? Anyway,
made of wood.
Splinters. So it was already slanted from the perspective. And so Jesus, they're like, hey, the law says you got to stone her. And I don't know what Jesus wrote in the sand, but he wrote something, and they were like, and they all dipped. And now it's Jesus and the woman. And the symbolism of it was Jesus was the only one who could judge accurately and fairly and righteously. The only qualified judge in a room. And what he said was, where are your accusers? Where are the people who condemn you? Neither do I condemn you.
Yeah.
Like, and so that symbolism, whenever I came to understand that story, and there's another one too about like the golden rule, the greatest command, right? Jesus said the whole Bible is about this: love your neighbor as yourself and love God. Right? Those are the two. That's the thing. Jesus said the whole Bible can be captured in that one sentence.
Yeah.
Right. And it assumes that you love yourself. It says, love your neighbor as yourself. And we will not love people well until we can love ourselves well. And also by loving myself, I am loving God.
Yeah.
Because I have God's breath in me.
Yeah.
There's a song I used to love, this worship song by Matt Redman. I think it's called Breath. And one of the lyrics, it says, like, we are breathing the breath that you gave us to breathe. Like, we are walking around with God's breath. We are the image and reflection of God. Like, we need to look at ourselves with reverence and awe.
Yeah.
We need to see the people who we encounter on the street. And I'm probably going to get a reaction out of this one. Donald Trump is not an alien. He's a human being. And if he's human, he qualifies for being the image of God, right? I am not saying he's godly by any stretch of the imagination, but there's a lot of people kind of springing up right now and like, yo, I can't wait till this motherfucker die in prison and shit like that. And I think you need to be held responsible for the crimes that you committed, right? But that doesn't give me joy.
Yeah.
It doesn't make me happy.
Yeah.
And so what if we looked at each other? Everybody who you saw is the image and reflection of God. When I see you, I'm seeing God. We wouldn't be going through what we're experiencing on this earth right now. We don't see each other as God. We see ourselves as objects. Number one, we see ourselves as objects. And that means we see other people as objects.
But even if it's a negative person, like if it's a person, if it's an adversary, if it's somebody who like you don't get along with, somebody who has harmed you in some type of way, I think that I think all of our relating to people is relating to the God within ourselves. So for example, if I have somebody who I can't stand and they keep showing up in my life, they're showing up in my life to reveal something to myself, right? To reveal something, to stretch my empathy, to stretch my boundaries. So instead of looking at now that I am growing more and I'm starting to understand and love and know myself more, I look at everybody that I come in contact with as an opportunity to get to know who I am, to stretch my God-like abilities, to stretch my omnipotence, to stretch who I am in God. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like if everybody looked at people that way, yeah, this person's pissing you the fuck off. You know what I'm saying? But what do you learn about yourself? What's that feeling that person's triggering in you? And why do you feel it? You know what I'm saying? Or this person's giving me a vast amount of joy. And like we tend to always lean towards the benevolent God. But if God is everything, there's a side of God that ain't right. You know, I mean, there's a side of God that, I mean, God, if God is everything, there's a side of God that is just terrible. There's a side of God that is dark. You know, but all of it it's all balance. It
Yep.
all has to be balanced.
Yep.
And it's all
Yep.
there to show you and stretch you and expand your godliness.
Yeah.
You know, the way you relate to things. And so that's kind of one of the main things that I've learned throughout this journey was that. And I do plan on taking that with me for the rest of my life. Really, really evaluating what people are coming into my life, the people that I can't stand, the people that give me great amount of joy. What is it about me? What do I need to learn in this moment from this person about myself? And I think once we do that, we understand ourselves more, and we understand God more, because we are stretched to the limits. We're stretching ourselves and evolving ourselves to the limits of our divinity.
Yeah, that's really powerful. I know we're closing. One of the last points was talking about moving forward and talking about the importance of finding a community of people who are also on their deconstruction journey. If there is nobody that you know in your immediate circle and you're kind of feeling isolated, I would love for us to be part of that community, right? And as we create these podcasts, we have that in mind, that we are trying to cultivate a community of people that can challenge, that can have doubt, that can be angry, that can, even angry with God.
Ooh.
Like God is not destroyed by our anger.
No.
And if he is, he ain't God. So, we are fearfully and wonderfully made. And I don't even think we have a scratch. I mean, psychology does not understand the brain. Does not understand it at all.
Yeah.
That movie Limitless, right? Like yes. We use a certain part. Everybody knows that there's something about us that is way bigger than what we display and how we live our lives and what we embody, right? And so there's something bigger about me, and there's something bigger in you, and I think giving yourself permission to become you.
Yeah.
Because that's who God created you to be.
Yep.
And when you can be like you, the image of God is even more clear.
Yeah.
Instead of the mask.
Yeah.
So consider us your community. I'd like to even, if somebody wants to join these discussions, I feel good about just bringing people in, and we will be doing that. So if you want to be down and talk about this stuff with us, we would love to have you. But we're going to close. Do you want me to say the benediction?
Absolutely.
May the Lord bless us and keep us.
Jesus wept.
Assalamu alaikum. Salam.
All right, y'all. See y'all next week.